the camera. Hi, guys. Please join the Patreon. Now, Judge, I named it the Real Dana Network, and then I have a tier, Judge Joe Brown Uncensored. But I think I'm going to just have one tier, right? Because the whole thing is uncensored. And I'm going to name it the Real Dana and Judge Joe Brown Uncensored.
Tune in for the first episode of Judge Joe and Dana After Dark.
That's a good one. So, guys, go click the Patreon link below and become a member. We are building a Patreon community so that me, and especially the judge, can talk about things that he cannot talk about on YouTube or anywhere else. The reason why he gets flagged and banned, he will be discussing it on Patreon. And then I will be uploading my life when I go to the gym and stuff like that, if you're curious. But join the Patreon of Judge Joe Brown and the Real Dana.
I promise I won't do anything like that.
All right. And that's it. We are done. Not quite done. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday, guys. So happy MLK Day. Yes, today is his official holiday, but his birthday is on January 15th, I believe. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna have a good show. I do have a guest. I don't know what happened to her. She was on, she wasn't on, and of course, waiting for the judge. And I don't know what is going on with him. Where are you? He's probably trying to log in, and it takes him a minute. And let me see what happened to Miss Rosemary. What happened? All right. So I don't know. I'll see what is going on. So anyway, guys, listen, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the bell button so you can get notified. And if you already did and you notice that you're not getting notifications, hit it and then hit the bell to not get notifications, then hit it again. So unhit it, then hit it again. Yes, honey, Lemonhead is in trouble. Lemonhead is in trouble. Guys, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Lemonhead, yes, he is in trouble. Honey, they pulling out the KKK Act. They trying to arrest him. But you know what? That was horrible what they did in Minneapolis at the church. You don't do that at a church. You don't. ICE wasn't in that church. Even if people work for ICE was in that church. So what? That is a place of worship. Number one, you was trespassing, and then you were disruptive. Not just Don Lemon, but a whole bunch of other people need to be arrested. Every protester that walked in that church should be arrested under the KKK Act. Yeah. Yes. So that's and it's like he wants to play stupid. Oh, I was just following where I was just there. I wasn't with no one. Yes, you were. Because he filmed for 6 hours from the time he landed to Minneapolis throughout his whole journey. And I am going to play the clip when he entered the church. That was very much intentional. Went into his back, his trunk of the back of the back of his car in the trunk to get like his camera equipment. But service was going on. The man asked him to leave very politely. Yeah. So we're going to get into that. And of course, Trump, honey, this is the House of Greenland. House of Greenland. Trump wants to buy Greenland, and he's basically telling the EU, y'all need to get on board or I'm gonna put some tariffs on your ass. Yeah, get on board, come along with the program, or you're gonna get some tariffs. So the EU was upset with Trump. He supposed to be in Davos, honey, and because he wants to start a new organization, something separate from the UN, but is UN like. And apparently, the president of France is like, no, I don't support that. I'm sticking with the UN. Well, that's not surprising because you're probably part of those other organizations in the UN that you're getting money from. You know, it's all a money scheme, fraudulent scheme. All those fake NGOs that act like they're doing something, but they're not. So yeah, and France is in on it. So, and what else? Oh, because it's MLK Day, I do want to talk about the Black Panthers because we have, I'm calling them the fake Black Panther Party, but they're calling themselves the new Black Panther Party of Defense. And we have a Puerto Rican, well, alleged Puerto Rican that's supposed to be the head of it. What's his name? Paul Bergson. So that's the fake Black Panthers. We're getting that towards the end. We're getting that towards the end. Give me a second. Let me call the judge because the guest is here and I don't want that person to be waiting. And he's supposed to be here. So I don't know what is going on with his connection, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring on the the guest because this makes no sense. I don't have time. I don't. Give me a second. Let me make myself bigger here. Let me bring in. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Okay, yeah, the cell phone looks better.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with the glare. These glasses, I gotta make a
Yeah,
way sometimes.
mine
But
have like a little glare. But can you try to turn your phone sideways so you could be like wide?
okay, I'm gonna try to do it without dropping. Uh, like this?
Um,
No,
no,
right.
make it landscape.
Um, I don't know how to do that. Let's see.
It's in your settings.
Uh, settings.
And then you could
And,
it's something portrait to landscape. It allows you to make yourself wider.
okay.
But if you can't find it, we have a couple of minutes because I was trying to wait for the judge to come up. I
um,
don't know if he's having a connection issue.
um, it's giving me background audio in the video. That wasn't it. Um, I'm not I'm not seeing it in my connections. Um, um, videos.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it in my connect.
Oh, it took her. I done made her fiddling with buttons and then took her completely out. I'm sorry, Rosemary. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She'll come back in. She'll come back in. um, um, you said it's that's good as it gets as that's good as it's gonna get. Keep it in portrait. Yeah, I think I'm just going. I don't know. Okay, why is it that people don't know where their portrait and landscape thing is? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not popping up in my settings at all on my
No,
phone.
you know when you drag the phone down
Hmm.
and your things come up. Do you have a Android or an iPhone?
I have an Android.
Right. So just drag it down and you'll see something that says portrait and then you just tap it.
Okay, let's see.
So you just drag it down like
Um,
that. And then the menu
And
comes down.
I see the menu, but that's not on there. I don't know why either. Let's see. And I'm trying not to drop again.
Yeah, so it's like just pull your screen
Um,
down and hit the rotation button.
okay, let's see. It says auto rotate. Okay, let's see. Prayerfully, we don't drop it again. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I can.
All right, I'll wait for her to get settled. I see the judge backstage. Okay, she knocked herself out. I see the judge backstage. Okay, here she go. Rosemary, I see you. I'm gonna bring you back up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. There we go. There we go. Whoops. What happened? There we go. Yeah, this is the first time I'm using this holder specifically too. So, and the glare's gone. So a little bit of it is gone. So that's a good thing.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Now, Rosemary, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I know I'm going to say it wrong.
No, it's okay. It's Oglesby Henry.
Oglesby.
Oglesby Henry, like Dr.
Oglesby.
Ogilvy, but it's Oglesby.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I first.
Yes, Professor Ogilvy. Yeah, but it's Oglesby. There you go.
Okay. Okay. All right. So briefly introduce yourself. Because I could read a bio, but I want you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, yeah. So my name is Rosemary Oglesby Henry. Currently, I'm the CEO and founder of a nonprofit organization called Rosemary's Babies Company out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We provide support for teen parents and families in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. I founded that organization about 2016 because I was a teen mom.
Mhm.
And I got pregnant at 16, housing insecure, the whole shebang. And I just felt the need that there were no resources that provided life skills
Right.
and support systems to tell teen parents, this is just an obstacle.
Mm.
It's a hurdle that you have to overcome because when you get pregnant at 16, people literally project your life to poverty. You better go get on the system. You got to go get income-based housing. And when I landed in those systems, I'm like, no, this is not okay. When, scholarships for college and all these things were taken. And so over the last decade, I've worked to build this organization, and I wrote Christian novels and things such as that about my journey and just empowering people that you are responsible for your choices and consequences. Which last year we opened a new facility, which is the only one in Ohio that provides housing for young mothers under the age of 18. And after 25 years, there was no housing for these young mothers. And so I built this 100% healthy facility that over 2 years, these kids learn about stocks, investing. They get help with emergency funds. So when they walk away, they truly have foundations, a tool, and resources. And so after it took me almost 3 years to build this facility, which was like, oh my God, Lord, where are you taking me? It just so happens the administration had changed and we are now red. So the Trump administration comes in and that administration comes down with a big, beautiful
Right.
bill.
Okay.
And within the big, beautiful bill, they're now putting restrictions in place to limit people on how long they can be on the system. They are putting in criteria for you to do mandatory hours, et cetera, et cetera. And when I looked at all of the implementations that were vital for people to have tools and resources in order to scale or even sustain, to take control of their own lives, I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this for the last decade. I'm a living, breathing model of these experiences. And when I looked at the administration that's currently in place, Greg Landsman, and I'm like, this guy didn't come from the trenches. He won't be able to understand what this administration is trying to do, but more than that, help to put in procedures and policies and processes in order to make sure that it's implemented without chaos. And then when I looked at currently the other two candidates that are running underneath the Republican Party, I'm like, these young guys, they got nothing. I'm 10 toes down with years of return on investment, have helped thousands transform their lives. And so I stepped into the arena to run underneath the Republican ticket for a congressional seat in
in
District 1
Ohio.
in Ohio.
And
In Ohio.
what cities are in District 1? What does that cover?
Yeah, so the counties, they just, of course, did redistricting for District 1. So it's now Warren County, Clinton County, and Hamilton
Okay.
County,
And is Cincinnati?
and which is
Okay, around
Cincinnati.
in that area. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Cincinnati.
All right.
Cincinnati.
So I see the judge backstage. Let's see. Let me bring him in. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So wait, let me put this here. There you go. All right. So we are here with Miss Rosemary Oglesby
Madam Oglesby.
Henry.
Yes. How are
All
you?
right, congratulations on your decision to make a run for it. And by the way, I think you're one of the good types. You've had it hard, but you've overcome, and you see what you need to do to overcome, but you've also had that tempering of the fire, so to speak. It's like preachers. Preachers don't make very good preachers if they don't understand sin, but those who overcome the circumstances can tell other folk how to avoid them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you've got to be able to walk through something, to truly understand, like you said, the scope and how to get through. And more than that, not like, oh, you should do it the way that I do it, but hey, here's how I conceptualize processing the problems. And here are ways to improve these processes and workarounds. And, and more than that, just somebody that you can look to that is a true Ohioan to say, well, she's been through income-based housing, so she understands what it means to have to get off and transition. She's had to receive benefits. I was a teen mom, and was able to put my daughter through college. I homeschooled my son, so I understand what it means to have alternative education. And now a lot of these are hot topics in this current race. And you have politicians that are running that can speak from chat GPT points, but they don't have the lived experience that I do. They don't have the education, and they don't have the boots on the ground for someone that's developed programming and processes and people to help them lift themselves up. But more than that, the support system for them to just be able to continue to move forward.
So you're running District 1 in Ohio, Republican ticket for House of Representatives in Congress, correct?
Yes.
And your priorities, because I went to the website, it has economy, business, family, education. Those 4 pillars is, your main focus. And that covers basically just about everything the American citizen, particularly in the state of Ohio, want and look for in their representation. They want to be represented when it comes to economy, when it comes to education and family. So, and I'm in Ohio too, but I'm up north in the Cleveland area. And I do want Ohio to stay red. Gotta stay red.
Well, currently our in District 1, Greg Landsman is blue. So, it's been something to be, underneath, a blue, congressional figure. And I think most of the time he's one of those politicians that try to walk the line.
Okay.
And that doesn't really help anyone, but a lot of his policies have really been for Israel and not really focused on Ohio first. And I understand that Ohio has these major challenges, and we need a congressional figure that will help us first.
What challenges is Ohio, you believe, is facing, and how can you help when you are elected into the House of Representatives?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, there's an affordability crisis everywhere. But for Ohio, there is a huge need for housing. You know, I know we talk about this nationally, but even for greater Cincinnati, I believe we're somewhere around a shortfall of 50,000 units of housing, you
Okay.
know, which is huge.
Yeah.
And then the cost of a house in Ohio is astronomical. When I went to visit Clinton County, and this is an area where the median income is somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000, which is on the lower end of the spectrum. They can't afford these rents because you're spending 30 to 40% of your income on rents. And it is because there's not enough housing. And so as a congressional figure, we need to look at that and figure out, how can I, as the congressional person over this district, streamline all three of these counties. So we have developers that might want to develop in Cincinnati, but hey, there's land out here in Warren County and in Clinton County. And how can we streamline that? How can I pull together all of the port authorities in Hamilton County, Warren County, and Clinton County to be able to have conversations to help to bring in resources, new jobs, and better support small businesses, because that brings in people, that brings in income, and it helps these communities and counties to flourish.
So lately, Ohio has been in the news,
Yeah.
and mainly because of the migrant crisis, right? And I wanted to get your perspective. What is going on in Ohio when it comes to the migrant crisis, with as far as illegals? I don't see a lot of that going on,
Yeah.
but now what came out of Minnesota with the fraud. Ohio is the second state with the largest um population of Somalians. So is that an issue in this state when it comes to fraud or the illegal migrant crisis?
Yeah, I know in Cincinnati we have about 10,000 estimated undocumented or unwelcome guests, as some people call them. And up north, where like Dave Chappelle lives, there's a lot of Haitian population up there. Um, there is fraud, waste, and abuse in a lot of areas and different scopes. It just so happens the focus right now is on the Somali population. Like you, I watched it come out in full view. You know, I run a nonprofit, and, you know, it's very difficult for my organization to, you know, have any fraud and abuse because we are constantly being audited and things such as that. But when you look at some of the policies that have been put in place underneath a lot of these the Democratic administrations, they have kind of been more lenient on making sure that these businesses and organizations are audited, making sure that they meet the requirements. And there's a lot of pressure, I would say, on certain organizations more so than others. And so we need to get back to the work at hand, get people in to do these audits. But more than that, we can't do that unless we also bring back jobs. So
Right.
by doing these audits, by focusing on the fraud, we can bring back a lot of these jobs that were lost, and again, help different people lift themselves out of their situation.
Mhm.
So there is some there. How much? I don't know, because again, I think that there are a lot of contingencies in place, but as we see it, we definitely need to address it.
What do you think about Vivek? He's running for governor. And I believe I forgot the woman's name on the Democrat side, but right now
Mhm.
he is the front runner for the Republicans for governor. So what do you think about him? I said I was going to vote for him, but what do you think?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to talk to Vivek Ramaswamy on several occasions. really down to earth person. I mean, you've never really gotten a government official that takes the time to actually listen, and he's not full of a bunch of sound bites.
Mhm.
He's bringing a very different perspective to Ohio, especially as a businessman. He's younger too. And he is, what is he, Indian American or something like that. So he also brings this diversity that I don't think that people truly understand. While, he wasn't born an American citizen, and while, yeah, he might be rich, he also had to face challenges
Mhm.
on his way to get to where he is. And he's a father, and he's putting his children through these systems as well. And I think that he is a breath of fresh air. I am completely and totally behind Vivek Ramaswamy and support a lot of the policies that he has in place. Some, I would love to have a seat at the table to work that out if he is voted in as our next governor, and just have some conversations that to make sure that as a congressional figure, I'm working hand in hand
Right.
with our governor to make sure, again, that all people in Ohio, especially the district that I'm serving, they have a voice in
Mhm.
what their needs are.
Judge, do you have any questions?
Just some observations.
Yes.
You know, you touched on something that's very important, that's very seldom mentioned in politics. You have a constituency, so you have to, of course, take care of the home front. If you don't have any roof over your head as an individual, it's pretty hard to operate if you're homeless or you're out in the streets exposed to the harsh elements. You kind of have to do that when you represent a group. But then again, sometimes you not only have to represent that group in the process, you have to be aware of what's going on outside of them. So sometimes it's like, okay, I can pay attention to what's happening around here right up in the face. But then there's this big something on the horizon that's
Yeah.
looming up. And if I don't see that for my constituents, it's going to be a very bad show. And politics is kind of a balance between those right here at home in your face and what's out there on the horizon.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't get it. And a lot of times the problem really gets aggravated when what's up front is seen through the eyes of a very ignorant, unsophisticated group that doesn't exemplify those human attributes that lead to good character.
Yes.
And what they want is sometimes bad for them. And it goes to this American thing of uh, you get the representation you deserve. If your representation isn't good, it's because you aren't either. And then you
Oh, wow.
get, excuse me, look at Jasmine Crockett and AOC and some other of the typical Democrats. Their constituency is not too good. And I imagine Crockett wasn't doing much good for the bigger community of Texas because of her little district. So it's kind of a balance, and it's always an important thing to have somebody who can deal with the locals right at home and have the
Mhm.
big picture. They can see what's on the horizon. You strike me that way. Now, a question I'd put to you is, have you given any thought to doing something to sort of uh, shortstop what got you in the mess you got into earlier in life and what you had to go through to overcome that circumstance? I see too much on the other side of a push for license, for immorality, for the wrong kind of concept about what's going on. Instead of helping yourself, getting caught in the trap of
Yes.
forever and ever somebody's supposed to take care of you so you never grow up
Mhm.
and you get stuck in that teenage thing of you
Mhm.
can't tell me what to do, I'm just as grown as anybody else, and you can't pay your rent, can't pay a mortgage, can't pay a house, a car note, can't buy groceries, can't
Yeah.
do anything else, but you think you're grown and you're dependent on everybody else. Now I
Mhm.
like it that You seem to be away from that. So good. Can you
Yeah.
want to tell us about thoughts you've had about these kind of things? If you want to, or go where you want to.
No,
Your
it's fine.
campaign.
It's fine. I completely understand where you're coming from. Again, I run a nonprofit for teen parents, and I built the nonprofit based on how I was raised. Like my dad and parents weren't so happy when I came in pregnant as a teen, and I was a fourth generation teen mom. And so none of my sisters and brothers and even my children were teen parents, because my kids knew you better be married before you come in here, with telling me that you're going to be a mom or be a dad. And that went for both of my kids. But when I built Rosemary's Babies Company, the foundational principles were, we help teen parents to help themselves. You are responsible for your choices and your consequences. And with those consequences come more choices. And I believe that you need a congressional figure that will be forthright with that. There are no handouts here. We control our own fate. And again, when I built Rosemary's Babies Company and helped this more than 3,000 teen parents and ensured that they didn't have more children before their time, I made sure that they understood the economic cliff and the consequences of taking benefits, not having a plan when you take those benefits, understanding what it means to choose a check over work and how that limits you, and understand the control of having more children before your life is stabilized. And more than that, a choice in wanting to parent alone. People don't understand. Yeah, I was a teen mom, but when I got pregnant, I believed solely in the American dream. 2.5 kids, white picket fence. And I was like, the first thing I went out looking for was a father to be able to help me, a helpmate. And somewhere along in our system, as women, we're told, we're strong, we're superheroes, but we need a partner. And I think with this administration, they are definitely pushing back to family values, that it helps. It'll help with daycare. It'll help with being able to support your livelihood. It's a tax incentive to build a family and get off of these systems, because what's happened all this time, they have given people what they asked for in order to keep them where they are. And that has been our greatest downfall. And that's systematic too. And when you add in the propaganda, they don't see it because they've glamorized it, that you're strong and you don't need anybody and we're here to help. But whatever happened to helping yourself? And now when daddies come home and said, hey, I'm not giving you any more help, you're cut off.
Right.
We're seeing temper tantrums around the nation. And you need someone that will be
That is
completely transparent.
that's beautiful. That is a good way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah,
I
so
like
I
it.
mean, I deal with teen parents all day, and I've got to be able to break it down so that they understand. And we
Temper
have to be able
tantrum
to
when
receive
daddy
it.
says enough. Good gracious.
When
That's a
Well,
daddy
good.
says enough,
well, what
you
I
know.
like about what you're doing is, your focus is on the youth, because they are our future, and you
Yes.
want to start putting in their heads, if you are in poverty, you can move yourself up out of it. If you are middle class, you can move yourself up even further, or not get trapped into poverty. And
Yeah.
that is something that is missing in what a lot of candidates don't have on a resume, or not doing, or not talking about. So I really appreciate you, speaking to that, and coming from that background, that experience. I really want you to come back on, because there's a lot of things that I definitely want to
It
talk
was
about.
I
good.
like this conversation.
But I
Yes.
want when is the primary?
My primary is May the 5th. This is the first time I run. I'm actually the first Black candidate to run as a Republican. So this has been something else. And I'm excited about doing it. And win or lose, I win, because how many little girls can look to see Miss Rosemary? That's what they call me. That's our moniker. Miss Rosemary came from the bottom. Her dad was a drug addict and all the things. And outside of herself, she chose to run for herself. She chose to run for me, and I can do that. And that's unheard of, really. And I'm not shying away from who I am. I'm saying that I want more for these kids. I want more for my future grandkids. And
Yes.
you need somebody within that's been through that the confines of that structure to sit at the Republican table and say, I know where you're going, but these are some of the processes that need to be implemented and lifelines that need to sustain in order to get this done.
And let me just say this, at the Republican table and the Democrat, no matter
Yes.
what table it is, because Democrats, they don't
Yes.
focus on the youth either.
No,
So
no,
their
they don't.
priorities is somewhere else
Yes.
with the
Yes. Yes.
non-citizens. So, but I love what you're doing. Like I said, I definitely want to have you come back on, and I do have some
Thank
ideas.
you.
I'm gonna keep in touch with you. I'm
Please
actually
do.
give you a call this evening because I have some good ideas. I need to take a
Give
trip.
her my number.
Yes, and I'll give you his number as well. I need to take a trip to Cincinnati because that's like 4
Yeah,
hours.
please do. Like I said, I'm excited to be on. I appreciate the conversation. You know, when you're doing a grassroots campaign like what I'm doing, it's very difficult to be able to get the word out from underneath, you know, the chosen ones and those high profile candidates. But that's one thing about me. I resiliently move forward. I don't give up. And that's what it takes
Right.
to lift yourself up. That's what it takes to change the trajectory, not only for yourself, for your entire family, for your community in Southwest Ohio.
Listen,
Let
I
me
want
ask you to
everybody
do
to
this.
go, wait, let me just say this. I want people to go to her website and donate because if you don't live in Ohio to vote for her in District 1, donate. That's very important. But go ahead, Josh, before I let her go. Go ahead.
I want you to do something when you get in. See if you can do something about restoring free speech. One, two, since you already have a program dealing with this. Can you convince these young girls that they shouldn't hate their sons just because they hate men? Ask them a question when you have a counseling session. Can anybody tell me what a man is good for? And listen to their answers, and you will have a comeback I can give you, which is how are you going to raise your boys to be men if you don't know what they're good for?
Yeah.
A lot of the girls I counseled hate guys because they feel like they've been used and abused, but then deep
Mhm.
down inside, they keep supporting that stuff like you're going against. It keeps telling them that's what you should do. You don't need a man. You ever heard of the poet Nikki Giovanni?
Yes, one of my favorite poets.
It shouldn't be because she's the antithesis of what you're talking about. In the
Yeah.
1960s, when I was at UCLA, she visited us twice.
Mhm.
She came to a BSU meeting and we roasted her because she was trying to tell, and there were 10,000 people, mostly female, and most of the black students, all of us, we went out of respect. And for both times she appeared, she told the female audience they didn't need a man. Men were poison. They were horrible for raising children. Just get pregnant. Don't tell the SOB he was the daddy. And keep the men out of the children's lives. And she spread that message all over the United States of America between 67 and about 70. So one time,
Well, I don't want to
not
focus too much on her because
no,
I
I
actually
mean, but
have to
just
go.
a thing. Be careful what you get locked into because they'll try to grab you. Did you ever see John Wick?
I think so. I think so.
Remember when the hotel manager told him to be careful. Don't dip a toe in that pond. Something will reach out and grab you and
Mhm.
yank you in.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes people may want to speak out against what you're doing right. There'll be a very few, but they'll try to come at you like it's a whole big bunch of them. Stand firm on your principles. That's why people used to go to church. Now the preachers don't talk about sin. It's about belief and putting money in the congregation and then looking at sin dancing right in front of their pulpit. Maybe Leviticus 20:13 they forgot about, but there it is. So to go along to get along, they don't talk about it and they hardly have anybody out in the pews in their congregation. But
Mhm.
stand firm because I like what you're saying and you have a beautiful way of phrasing it.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate that. My dad used to tell me, oh, I'm named after my grandmother. Her name is Rose, and she passed away a few years ago. But she used to tell me, she said, all you have is your name. And she said, education is the one thing they can't take from you. And so, you know, and when I think about my name, I want to be talked about in rooms that I'm not in the same way that you talk about me when I'm in those rooms. And so I have to run this race as I would, because I know that my kids are looking at me. I know my babies are looking at me. And I just want to make, first and foremost, do what God called me to do. And so, like I said, I appreciate that. And I
And
will.
and I really appreciate you coming on, but I'm definitely going to have you come back on and all the way up into the primary because we got to push you out there, money,
Yes.
support, everything. So thank you so much, Miss Mrs.
Miss.
Miss.
I was married for 23 years. So he's actually the one that told me to watch. He was like, you got to follow her. You got to follow her. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah, so
So,
he's great.
so Mrs. Right, Mrs.
Miss,
Miss
miss,
Miss
miss.
Rosemary Oglesby, go
Yes,
Oglesby
yes,
Henry.
yes.
I wanted to say the whole thing that it helps me to practice. I'm definitely going to keep in touch. Definitely going to have you come back on through from here through until May, so we could
Oh,
get
thank you.
out there the donations and everything, and promote and support what you're doing because I love what you're doing. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Madam
And it's great meeting
Oglesby.
both of you.
Madam Oglesby, thank you very much for being what you are about. Keep it up, and please do come back. And feel free to call me. I assist people in their politics.
Thank you so much. And I definitely will. Thank you
I'll give
so
you,
much.
I'll give you a call this evening.
All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Have a good day, everybody.
You too. Very lovely. Like I love her. Oh my god.
It's refreshing. I like the phraseology. Some of it I hadn't heard for years, and a couple of new points in there were brilliant ways of stating the case.
So I'm glad I had to come up first. And of course I'm clipping and uploading, so more eyes could be on it. But I want you guys listen, I put her website. It's where is this? Right here. Oh, it's www.voterosemarie.com. Vote M Rosemary. No, I did it wrong. Oh shit. Let me correct it.
Careful.
I know, right? Oh, I forgot the R there. Yeah. So it's
Up
www dot
on screen, somebody might get upset, but anyway.
it says www.votemrosemary.com. So go to the website, donate, and support. And especially if you're in District 1, vote for Rosemary. Yeah. Um, now,
It's
let's,
interesting. There's an ample opportunity for a Republican who happens to be black. And what that's about is Ohio used to be the upper terminus for the Underground Railroad. So you've got a long 160, 70, 180, 190-year history of black folk leaving the slave South and fleeing north and being able to do what they did. So there is a familiarity that is there. Also, Minnesota, that does not exist in a number of other places.
mhm.
It can be put to use for a constructive purpose.
Well, yeah. So vote rosemary.com. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Let me put this here before we get I want to go into Dawn real quick. Um, but I want to put her website in the live chat and I'm gonna also put it in the description for everybody as well. And guys, please hit the like button and share this video and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button. Also, make sure you join the Patreon. Join the Patreon because I just started the Patreon over the weekend. So please become a member. Um, Honey, we gotta get into Don because they are calling for him to be arrested. Actually, let me share this.
They're super sweet, really refreshing. I love sumo season.
Some nights it's full on drama, and other nights
Why do I have it's like all these damn commercials? Like, come on.
The rule is there's more commercial than content on most everything except the internet, but it's catching up. For
Right.
every 30 minutes of content on mainstream TV and cable, you have 14 minutes of content and 16 minutes of commercials. So you have 32 minutes out of every hour of commercial and 28 minutes of content.
Well, this is when I
That's
want to share.
ridiculous.
Well, Don Lemon went to Minneapolis over the weekend, Sunday. And he took it upon himself to trespass in a church in the middle of church service. How rude and disrespectful is that? Not only him, but a whole bunch of anti-ICE protesters. Mind you, these people in the church were minding their business, worshiping, right? I think apparently they're saying somebody who goes to that church worked with ICE. Who knows? It doesn't matter. They were not in that church trying to. ICE agents weren't in the church trying to plan out anything. No, it was Sunday morning during church service hours. People were there to worship, and he takes it upon himself, along with the other anti-ICE protesters, to trespass and disrupt church service. Now, this is the extended clip because Don Lemon, when he landed in Minneapolis, he went live for the whole 6 hours, his whole journey there throughout Minneapolis. So he filmed himself walking up in that church. Why are they going to the church? First of all, why church?
Well, that gives you an idea about CNN. He used to work for them quite a long time. And that's what they're about. They want to push something on somebody. They're not informing, they're pushing. See, if you just gave information, you'd offer it, people would come, but they want to push a mindset on you. So, by the way, this could be a good thing. You know why?
Why?
People get exposed to it and say, oh no, this is so bad. We can't allow this. Is this what these people have been about? I had no idea. This is a good thing.
So let's play a little bit of it.
Just surrounded the church on the inside. They have found out that one of the pastors here in the city, in the area.
I couldn't hear that. He said something about ICE. What did he say? I think that was the point. I couldn't hear it. I just heard ICE.
Let me
One of
try
the-
it again. I think it was probably something with my audio. A minute.
I think that was important to your point.
Seats, we do have some seats available in the sides here, the transept, a few seats open. Some seats up here as well. The Gospel of John, chapter 13.
Excuse me, Pastor. You say that you asked the Lord to take you to your house to take you.
Hey, Meta, record. So activists are now in the church, and they are protesting, surrounded the church. on the inside. They have found out that one of the pastors at here in the city, in the area.
That's his audio going in and out. He said they found out one of the pastors worked with ICE.
So
Oh no.
unacceptable. You know what somebody ought to do?
People's due process. When you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution. When you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, the civil rights
Stop. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution says it shall be the affirmative duty of the president, they put it as commander in chief, to, quote, enforce the law of nations, unquote. For the last several thousand years, embraced in the law of nations as a first principle is the security and sanctity of national borders. So just exactly what in the world are they talking about unconstitutional? See, it doesn't make any sense. Also, each one of them needs to be asked, do you support what happened 9/11 when they invaded the U.S. by proxy and killed 3,000 plus people, more than died at Pearl Harbor at December 6, 1941? Do you support that? Huh? Well, what do you think is going to happen with Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, et cetera, that hate us being allowed a free entry into the country with nobody to check them? So, what are you going to say when this happens?
Let me play a little bit more.
the pastor's here. He's leaving. I'm surprised that law enforcement has not showed up yet. So we'll see. Let's go out front and see what's happening. Let's go out front. So I'm going to take you outside of the church and just show you a little bit. But yeah, that was interesting to watch. This guy here, look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But that's what really, careful, please. Really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so there's you see the police are here. They haven't come in yet.
They should arrest every one of them for trespass.
Police are here.
Disruption of a
And
public
this is where,
assembly.
Right.
At least 3 or 4 misdemeanors that I can see that would be in place. Disruption of a religious proceeding. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And, you know, this is intimidation. This is violation of these people, not these people, but the churchgoers' civil rights.
I'm just chronicling. I'm not with the group.
What do I have to say?
Can you understand why they're angry?
I don't understand any of this because I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man who loves the Lord and is a good father. So this is what we look forward to, is coming, being with our family and praising Jesus, and that's not something that we have to run away from. So this is kind of a bad day for us. But, you know, we're going to heaven, so that's the best news we got.
Do you understand that some of these folks feel voiceless?
I don't understand, because right now I'm so upset right now. I don't really have I'm thirsty, and I can't think very clearly. So what I want to do is just say, we love you.
Yeah.
My son and I love you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm
a journalist. They're activists.
The simplest thing we can say is that we love you guys.
What do you mean, you guys?
Well, whoever's here in this house.
Okay.
We don't distinguish between Christian and non-Christian. We love everyone, and we want everyone to come to heaven.
Yeah.
We want people to go to heaven.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. We want folks to go to heaven, and if we need to talk about these things, then, I mean, this isn't the time for that, really. I mean,
But don't you think until we go to heaven, if you believe in that there should be some sort of peace here on earth, and that people should have agency, and we shouldn't be beating people up off the street,
that's just,
and we should be abiding by the Constitution?
I think that's just a little bit loaded for me right now. What you're doing?
Why so?
Well, I don't want to interview right now. I don't want to interview. I just want to tell you guys I love you. I don't need to interview right now because I want to be with my son.
I want to go back to this interview.
Let me ask you a question. What
Yell at each other.
Go ahead.
the problem is, what do they think would go on, say, if you tried to crash the border with the People's Republic of China, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Somalia,
Mm-hmm.
Venezuela, Brazil, Peru, Argentina? What do you think would happen if you just decided to disregard, your status, and you aren't a member of the Euro Union or not, and you just decide you're going to bogart Great Britain, hit the main island? What do you think's going to happen if you just decide you're going to barge into Japan and float your boat up? I'm here. Screw all you people. I decided to be here. And if you hold me, you can ask me politely, and I'm going to say no. If you grab me, my rights are being violated. What do you think? I mean, does that even sound like a reasonable proposition?
No, it don't, and it doesn't. No, it does not. I want to play this clip here, and this is the actual pastor that Don Lemon was talking to.
This is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Not
We're here
that.
to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Okay.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
Unless you're here to
chronicle what
worship.
happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much.
This is
See, they probably picked this church because they knew that these folk are going to go push that position of universal love. But this is private property. They're engaged in criminal trespass, disruption of a public assembly, disruption of a religious assembly. They are violating these people's rights to assemble, and they aren't. You can't disrupt public order. You can protest, but not inside somebody's house, literally. I'm sure that the congregation has the deed to this property if the preacher doesn't or some donor doesn't, so they are trespassed. The invitation did not embrace this. There's no reason for them to be there. This is something that is way out of line. And again, it's like, do you guys get it? That there are some other things besides your little dogma that you want to push? And then the question beggars itself, what's wrong with enforcing the law? What are you supposed to do? Somebody goes and robs somebody? Oh, would you please come with us? We would like to talk with you. No, I'm out of here. Oh my God, he's got a gun. Okay. Oh my God, those cops when they busted this armed robber. Yeah, well, he's not an armed robber. He's just protesting because he has such a horrible life elsewhere. Well, isn't that what usually happens? Attila the Hun's boys sacked Rome way back when. Somebody named Adolf decided that uh, certain people needed living space, so he decided to dispossess most of Europe and slaughter a whole lot of people of a certain religious faith because they happened to be in the way.
I think they also did it because this church was predominantly white, and that leftist anti ICE and woke liberal Democrat,
Racist.
they're trying to paint, conservative Christians are racist, so we don't care, let's go disrupt. But I want to play this clip here, and this is of I think he's a preacher, and he's speaking about what happened with Don Lemon and others.
Today in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of Cities Church during their worship time. They were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act, and not only do we condemn this act, but tonight I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly.
By the way, pause that
We
a
must
second.
protect religion.
Do you recall what happened as a consequence of January 6, 2020? And all of those people they persecuted because they were less disruptive than this when they marched into a public building that accepts invitations. I mean, that invites the citizenry to come observe the proceedings.
Well,
They had all of
initially,
these hearings, but
well,
what they were talking about was nowhere near as disruptive as this.
not really, because they did tear up some Congress people's offices.
I mean, it was just property damage. They
Yeah, but
didn't
this
go
this has no
yell.
problem. I don't want to do a compare and contrast, but the act is the same. But let me just also throw this in here, because we all remember Emmanuel Baptist Church in South Carolina, when one person walked in that church. He wasn't being disruptive, but he ended up pulling out a gun and killing, the people. Sorry. Hello? Killing
Yeah,
the members that was worshiping. So, and I'm like, wasn't it something? Oh, it was that. I'm gonna get to that in a second. So again, to me, it is similar to that. And also, yeah, the January 6th, but it's more so similar. Why are you unannounced trespassing in a church during church hours when people are there worshiping? That is a major problem. Let me
it's anywhere. They don't have to be worshiping. But if I recall, a certain somebody who just got mentioned prominently was castigating somebody for being way behind the scenes and influencing people to do what happened on January 6th. But there he is, and this man says he was part of the whole thing, which interestingly enough, he had to have knowledge, otherwise, he wouldn't have been there to record it. And the questions that he asked indicate that he was sympathetic to the position. And he also, by inference, Lemon could be said to be advocating violation of United States, 8 United States Code, Section 1324, dealing with giving aid, comfort, advisement, counsel, procuring transportation, housing, shelter, et cetera,
and let me
to
finish playing the rest
illegal
of the clip.
aliens.
Let me finish playing the rest of the
Just liberty in this country. As people meet to worship God, they have been given legally the right to enter, to worship, and to leave their place of worship. The Lord Jesus said, in the world, you will have tribulation. But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. I have preached for many years that there will come a time when we'll find out who are Christians by label and by convenience, and who are Christians by conviction. And certainly we're entering those days now. I believe we should pray for this congregation, and we should be vigilant as Christians to exercise our freedom, to worship our Savior, and to stand unashamed for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Doesn't have to be with the gospel of anything. It's, you just can't walk in and disrupt public assemblies like that. You just can't trespass on private property. That's a no-no. And the civil rights era, they had peaceful demonstrations that often became, shall we say, violent, because the reaction was not predicated on people being contrary to public peace, dignity, and order. It was on certain official agencies saying you shouldn't be out here to protest to begin with. What they're confusing was what happened with the lawlessness of the mid to late 60s in very different kind of protest. Well, let's put it this way, demonstrations, not so much protest, but actual disruption of public order on purpose by the people who were there to express their dislike for the war. And they were throwing Molotov cocktails, bricks, concrete blocks, stones, sticks, every other kind of thing they could on the front end. And that's not the same as the civil rights movement, when people were peacefully marching down the street.
Right.
And
Well,
certain,
the DOJ just announced that it announced intentions to charge Don Lemon under the Ku Klux Klan Act, the KKK Act.
yeah, that's exactly it. That's been on the books since 1877.
So let me play this clip here.
We will pursue charges in this case. I see various crimes that have occurred. Exactly what they are, I'm not going to flag, but the FACE Act has been mentioned as one of the predicates there. In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred? Was there a use of the wires or the mails in preparing for this event? Did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential predicates for additional federal charges.
I've just pulled up the Klan Act because this is the first time that I've heard this.
Hold on one second. Remember what we've been reading on the BLM site? We assist in the organization and communications and transportation for demonstrations. If BLM has a part in it, that's an opportunity to take action against them too, if they've been doing it. And this guy said, that's the first time I've ever heard it about the Klan Act. Well, get ready for it. It was quite
mentioned.
common.
This is a act that was passed in 1871, correction there, to combat the Ku Klux Klan and protect African Americans' voting rights, especially the Enforcement Act, which is known as the Force Act. So here's some of the information on screen. Would you mind breaking down for us, because we have just read the FACE Act and how this is in affinity to the FACE Act, an obvious and egregious demonstrable violation of the FACE Act, because they were entering a place of worship, harassing and threatening. We just played a video of a man, a bearded man, who was threatening to attack the Christians that were worshiping there. So it seems like an obvious FACE Act violation. But the Klan Act here, it is on screen. First time I've heard it mentioned. Can you unpack this for us, Harmeet?
Yeah, the Klan Act is one of the most important federal civil rights statutes, and it goes back to the time when President Lincoln emancipated the slaves, and yet the southern states, Dixiecrats mainly, were refusing to give them equal rights. And in fact, that you had sheriffs and you had law enforcement harassing the newly freed slaves. So the Klan Act is a law that makes it illegal to terrorize citizens, to violate their civil rights, to get together and conspire to violate the civil rights. It is often used against law enforcement, but is now used against others as well. So whenever anyone conspires to violate the protected civil rights of American citizens, the Klan Act can be used to bring a conspiracy charge. We, in the federal law enforcement parlance, call this 241 and 242 civil and criminal conspiracies. And so what the Biden administration did is, if three grandmas got together to pray outside an abortion clinic for the souls of the people inside, and including the unborn children, they would say, oh, that's not just a violation of the Klan Act, that's a conspiracy to violate the civil rights of women going in there to get abortions. And so we're going to add additional charges and punish that more and make it from a misdemeanor under the FACE Act to a felony under the Klan Act. And President Trump pardoned the pro-life protesters in those cases. I have recently defended successfully in the 11th Circuit a case called Oropesa, a case of Jane's Revenge, the pro-abortion protesters violently attacking crisis pregnancy centers in Florida. And we had the court uphold the Klan Act criminal enhancement to the FACE Act. So I know this is very deep in the weeds, but the point is, there are a the FACE Act is just the start. Like I said, you have material support for disruptive activities. You have conspiracy to violate civil rights. You have potentially the use of other instrumentalities to commit crimes. And so some of these folks who did this have self-identified. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility. He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism. And as if that's sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. And so, we're getting our ducks in a row. We're putting the facts together. And this is a very serious matter. Come next Sunday, nobody should think in the United States that they're going to be able to get away with this. Everyone in the protest community needs to know that the fullest force of the federal government is going to come down and prevent this from happening and put people away for a long, long time.
There is a deterrence factor that is inherent in any criminal law. In other words, the fact of prosecution and apprehension and prosecution is supposed to deter others similarly situated from committing the same kind of crime. In other words, don't do it because you won't like what happens if you do.
Correct. Now,
but that's the consequences. I didn't go or get a chance to go that far, but that's what I was talking about January 6th. See, you raise all this hell about people walking into a government building. Okay, it's not private property, it is government property. And what they did is essentially misdemeanor vandalism to some physical property, mostly appliances or furnishments, not the structure itself. Two people died. One person died of a heart attack who was a protester, and another person, a law enforcement official, a woman, was shot by a Capitol cop. She was a protester. So they like to talk about all of the police that got shot and injured. There was only one, and that was the protester. So other than that, no police got hurt. You got a few desks scarred up, maybe in a lamp or two knocked over. That's about it. You didn't get any broken windows or anything like that. You didn't get any splintered doors or furnishments around the place. You got people who just had a concerted purpose of protest. When they were invited in, the doors were open for them by Capitol Police.
He
And
keeps calling
apparently,
himself. He keeps calling himself a
a
journalist.
journalist.
He's not a
Who do you,
journalist no longer. He's a podcaster like us. He's filming every step when he was in Minneapolis, getting in the car, going in the church, going in the restaurant, eating,
wait.
going to
What's he
protest.
doing? What's he doing? He's helping these people get food, or are they feeding him?
No,
Or
he's
who's
feeding himself.
okay? Who provided the food? Did they? That becomes indicia that he's part of the group. See, he knew about it. He shows up, and by his remarks, he is, what shall we say? He is assisting them, aiding and abetting them about their ends or their objective. He's saying, what? We're going in and listening. He's got somebody in there who's part of this wired up so that they can listen. And he's going, wow, one of the members of your congregation is part of ICE. And by the way, there is another one called 18 United States Code Section 111 that makes what they're doing a felony because they're trying to interfere with, chill the exercise of the authority of, or do harm, or et cetera, to certain persons like ICE officials, FBI officials, Treasury agents, and so on and so forth. So they are all conspiring to commit a felony, which becomes a more serious felony because they're going in there trying to intimidate an ICE agent who is one of the people protected under 18 United States Code annotated Section 111.
So I want to move a little bit to the other protesters and protests that was going on, and I want to bring up Tim Walsh. So let me play this clip.
We are one. We won't stop fighting. We won't stop fighting. Till ICE is gone. Till ICE is gone.
Target says that their mission is to support the joy of everyday life for all families. Then do it.
Look at this crowd.
Do it now.
Justice over profit.
Justice over profit. People over.
I sit here not only.
I wonder what they will say to the families of the next round of 911 victims.
Has a great granddaughter of an immigrant, and I sit here and I ask Target, you must stand with us. You must stop discriminating. You must stop treating immigrants wrong. You must give them better wages. You must give them an opportunity to have housing. You must give them an opportunity to feed their children. I sit here because this is the right thing to do.
That's right.
They always have these raggedy looking black people in the forefront.
Careful, they might get on you. You'll be censored for that. But you know what? I have a perspective that's different from what these, shall we say, gullible, naive type who are probably succumbing to propaganda that foreign agents have put out there, who want to get in and create havoc inside of the United States. I recall being in a country, I was visiting, let's leave it unnamed, and I was in a train station and there was a dotted line, and I was looking at my watch, anxious on whether or not I'd make the train because the line was long. I didn't realize how efficiently things would run over where I was. And I moved around to take a look and see where the line was. So the people line, and I stepped on the dotted line. I heard this ominous sound of people jacking 7.62 by 39 rounds into the chambers of Kalashnikovs. Clunk, 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 clack. I said, oh, yeah. So I just raised my hands, put them on top of my head, and called myself a dumb American. And I got taken in and interrogated, still made the train because the train was held up because they were investigating what I was up to stepping on this line.
Well, let me play this clip here because this is the DOJ is now targeting Democrat leaders in Minnesota as they should.
Familiar tells me that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are both being investigated by the Justice Department. And a grand jury has issued subpoenas for both of them, though it doesn't appear that either have been served yet. What we do know tonight as we come on the air is that the Justice Department investigation centers on possible obstruction of federal law enforcement. Both the FBI Director Kash Patel and the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche were in Minneapolis today. And just a short time ago, Todd Blanche was on Fox News explaining or attempting to explain why the Justice Department is taking this action.
When the governor or the mayor threaten our officers, when the mayor suggests that he's encouraging citizens to call 911 when they see ICE officers, that is very close to a federal crime.
Person familiar tells me that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
It is a federal crime. It's 18 U.S.C. Section 111. It's also 8 U.S.C. Section 1324. And by the way, that code section says specifically that official status does not exempt one from the enforcement of the act.
Mhm.
So you set up a sanctuary city or do what all of these folk are talking about, you're guilty of conspiring against the U.S. government and in breaking the law.
So DHS Secretary Christy Nom, she was on Face the Nation, and the host tried to fact check her, but then she had to check the host.
But 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you
you
guys
have
keep
detained
changing
has...
your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts, is that 70% of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what President Trump has charged them with.
Okay, well, our reporting is that 47%, based on your agency's own numbers, 47% have criminal convictions against them. But let's talk about the other numbers.
Wait a minute, time out, stop. She said 70% of them have either been convicted of or have pending charges against them now for criminal activity. She said 47% have been convicted. Is that what she just got through saying? See, 47% is a subset of 70, so she's dead wrong on that. That just leaves 23% that have charges pending. If you've got a group that almost 50% of that you've turned loose and allowed to continue criminal activity and they've been convicted, something's wrong with what you're up to.
Correct numbers so you can use them in the future.
Well, that's from your agency. Let's talk about our numbers here at CBS.
Nobody want to talk about the numbers there. That was just a quick clip. I was going.
Yeah, well, it's good. See, they don't have the information right. I have run into that over and over again recently where they start citing numbers. Hell, even with X, I got permanently suspended from X. I can listen and I keep demanding to know what for. And they could say multiple complaints. And I'm saying, what complaint? I've never had one. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you see, that's just an example where you put something out there and everybody's supposed to buy it just because you said it. and you have no status as an eyewitness where you can swear, you have no data, or you want to misread the data sheets, and
So I want to play this here because Trump, he is ready to deploy 1,500 soldiers to Minnesota to, push back against the anti-ICE protests.
Officials say 1,500 active duty soldiers are on standby for possible deployment to Minnesota. This comes as ongoing clashes between federal immigration agents and protesters remain charged. Those troops would be deployed only if President Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, which has not been used in decades.
Fox 9 So Young Kim joining us now. And So Young, political experts are weighing in on where this all goes from here. How do they see this possibly ending?
Fox 9 political analyst Boyce Olson says there needs to be productive talks between Minnesota and federal leaders at some point. Daily protests of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in Minnesota have stretched into a second week, escalating into violence at times. Now, Pentagon officials have ordered 1,500 troops to be ready in case of a possible deployment to Minnesota. That development was confirmed by two defense officials to the Associated Press Sunday. Here's what we know. The official says 2 infantry battalions of the Army's 11th Airborne Division have been given prepare to deploy orders, so the active duty soldiers are standing by. The unit is based in Alaska and specializes in cold weather operations. They would be deployed only if President Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, which he threatened last week. Presidents have used the law more than 24 times in its history. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry responding to this development on CNN, saying he will not be intimidated. We asked Fox 9 political analyst Boyce Olson what are possible ways this situation could end.
I think it ends by some sort of agreement between the federal government and the state to cooperate with regard to immigration detainers. I know that the state does cooperate with immigration detainers if the state has already detained someone in our prisons. But jails, local law enforcement, the state patrol, BCA haven't been working with ICE.
Olson says that path forward should include negotiations.
I feel as though every day there's one more level that Washington wants to take it to. And I think that, Minnesota has to engage. I think there is some engagement to find a way forward, a better way forward, a more productive way forward.
And the Insurrection Act was last.
Hold on. Negotiations. You may surrender your client on Monday between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m.
I'm going to start my new
at the marshal's office. That's the kind of negotiation that is called for. You may bring your client in and surrender them. We won't go apprehend them on the scene.
Well, this is Governor Walz talking about Trump bringing in the troops.
Guard members are expected to be deployed in Chicago tomorrow, despite protests from local officials and some residents. They're being ordered to protect federal agents and facilities during an immigration crackdown that has ramped up tensions in the Windy City. As judges weigh the constitutional clash over President Trump's crackdown on crime, we are...
Oh, I'm sorry, this is old. No, not this. Never mind. That was an old one from months ago. I'm not.
Let's just put it this way. I've been doing this for more than a half century on all three sides, either adjudicating, most recently, defending a little before that, or prosecuting before that. And to me, it looks like some people are going to get bracelets, those steel kind, or maybe the zip tie kind.
Well, moving along. I want to go to Greenland. And guys, please hit the like button. Please share this video. Subscribe. Hit the bell button to get your notifications. And sign up to the Patreon. In that order. Well, actually, sign up to the Patreon, hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification in that order. Trump wants to buy Greenland. I don't know why, but it's a reason why. It must be some oil. Must be something there.
No, there's another thing too. Actually, strategically, it is in a very critical location, and the United States government occupied it during World War II, set up naval and air bases there because it was vital to controlling the Atlantic. The People's Republic of China has been very active in the Arctic, so has Russia. And right now, Iceland, under the aegis of Denmark, is very poorly placed to defend itself if they just decided to march in and take over. That would be a disaster for the defense of North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And there are good reasons to do something about that. Also, it's not directly involved, but it's closely connected with the Monroe Doctrine. And buying it is not unusual. We bought Alaska. We bought quite a few states with the Louisiana Purchase. Let's not forget there was the Spanish American War. We acquired a number of places, including a future state. Puerto Rico, let's look at what happened when we acquired Hawaii. That's now our 50th state, as was Alaska, the 49th. We have California. That was through right of conquest. We have New Mexico. We have Arizona. We have Nevada that were acquired from the adventures of the Mexican American War. We've got Louisiana. We've got a whole lot of the Midwest states that were acquired through the Louisiana Purchase from France. So this is nothing new in our country's history. And
So what? But why does Trump want Greenland?
because if you notice, if you look at the maritime and the military significance of Greenland, it's absolutely crucial. If some foreign entity got that, it would be very close to Russia, straight over the Arctic, very close to China. And there is no way we would be able to do with Greenland what we wound up doing with Cuba 64 years ago when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis and the set off between Massachusetts born John F. Kennedy as U.S. president and Ukrainian premier of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev. So
So it's really because of location and probably for military tactics, surveillance. So it's not so much what resources, material resources they have, but the
those two.
but the resource also of location that could benefit
Yeah.
the American military.
So all of the reasons that the U.S. established the periphery around Cuba in 1962, multiply that by 10 or 15 times when it comes to the significance of Greenland. And see, the problem is Denmark itself, under whose aegis Greenland exists, they can't protect the area from, say, the Russians or the People's Republic of China. So this is a question. And right now they're scrambling to try to get commitments to say, well, to keep Donald Trump from doing this, maybe we can put more troops and more forces in. Yeah, but it's not just troops. You don't have an air force big enough. We have more on one aircraft carrier than you've got in your whole country. And then Denmark's got it because of two homicidal maniacs. You ever heard of Eric the Red and Leif Erikson? Eric the Red was from Denmark, a Scandinavian. He was a notorious Viking that other Vikings banned because he was too bloodthirsty. So he goes and he settles we have Greenland. Then he goes and his son, Leif Erikson, is banned by Eric the Red because Leif Erikson is viewed by his homicidal maniac father as a worse homicidal maniac. So the two of them settle Greenland and Iceland. And then Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson, apparently winds up setting up a Viking settlement in North America. So that didn't work out too well because the Native Americans then didn't get too phased by long swords and axes like they did with firearms some 400 years later. So it's a long history between Greenland and the United States. And the whole setup with Iceland and Greenland isn't exactly nice. Leif Erikson and Eric the Red.
So let me play this clip here with her discussing the UN leaders are upset with it.
Now to the dispute over Greenland. Today, the European Union held an emergency meeting in response to President Trump threatening new tariffs on 8 countries until the U.S. reaches a deal to buy the Arctic territory. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang.
Tonight, European ambassadors holding an emergency meeting over President Trump's latest threat against America's closest allies. Trump says 8 NATO allies will face tariffs starting February 1st, and until a deal is reached for the U.S. to acquire Greenland. Those countries have sent small groups of military forces to the Arctic territory in support of NATO ally Denmark, which has long controlled Greenland. European leaders outraged. Sweden says they will not be blackmailed. France says no intimidation nor threat will influence us. For months now, Trump refusing to back down from his campaign to control Greenland, refusing to rule out the use of military force.
If he wants to purchase Greenland, that's one thing, but for him to militarily invade would turn Article 5 of NATO on its very head and, in essence, put us at war with NATO itself.
The Trump administration insists the U.S. must control Greenland for national security.
If there were an attack on Greenland from Russia, from some other area, we would get dragged in. So better now, peace through strength, make it part of the United States, and there will not be a conflict.
But many experts and lawmakers say there's no immediate threat.
According to our intelligence, we haven't had a Chinese warship in Greenland for a decade or so.
The U.S. already operates a military base in Greenland with a long-standing treaty that allows the U.S. to expand its military presence on the island.
The only security threat to Greenland right now is the United States.
And Lindsay, tonight the president of the European Council announced he's convening an extraordinary meeting in the coming days with European leaders in light of recent developments over Greenland, a sign of just how seriously our allies are taking the president's threats.
Yeah, it's hollow, rings hollow. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, aka NATO, was created by the United States after World War II, well, toward the end of World War II, to enhance its military prowess. At that point in time, General Omar Bradley was under Ike Eisenhower, who was over the entire process in direct command of 12 million U.S. soldiers in Europe, and Eisenhower was over him and also over the English, French, South African, Australian, New Zealand, and Canadian forces that were in Europe at the time. So that's 18 million people under arms that Eisenhower was commanding, and he was effectively the first commander of the NATO forces. You wind up with a lot of people, including General Bradley, and then you wind up essentially with General Colin Powell, getting involved in the whole thing.
Let me read this here. It says the European Union leaders said after emergency meeting on January 18th that their nations are ready to defend themselves after U.S. President Donald Trump imposed new tariffs on Europe as pressure in his bid to take control of North American island. After the emergency talks, EU Council President Antonio Costa said that member states agree that tariffs would undermine transatlantic relations and are incompatible um, with the incompatible with the EU-US trade agreement. Costa said the EU leaders had expressed readiness to defend ourselves against any form of coercion. Costa is expected to convene a full summit of the EU leaders later this week. The meeting comes as Trump has ramped up his efforts to gain control of Greenland for the United States, citing the island's strategic importance, natural resources, and suggesting that adversaries like Russia or China could move in if the United States doesn't. So Trump is planning to add a 10% tariff on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland starting February the 1st, which would increase to 25% on June 1st, according to his Truth Social post. Quote, until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland, end quote. Now, I want to talk about the people, particularly the indigenous people of Greenland, because they have something to say and they're not being heard at all.
Nobody cares.
I do.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, in the scheme of things, what are they going to do?
well, but here's the thing. Taking that attitude is like somebody saying nobody cares about what American citizens voicing our opinions and our concerns about what our government has been doing to
No,
us.
it's different. We are the government in one sense.
But this is
We
the
vote on whether or not the office holders
okay. That's
keep
fine.
their
Let me
offices
read
every
this. Let
2,
me just read this.
4, or 8
Let
years.
me read
See,
this article. So it says Greenlanders speak out against Danish rule after decades of forced sterilization, poor living conditions. They stole our future. I don't think this has her audio.
Told me to come to the
Yes,
hospital.
it does.
Without, I know when I was, they have told me to come to the hospital in my hometown, and I stayed in Greenland. Then I was 12 or 13, and second time they told me to come again when I was 14 or 15. And I didn't know they have IUD, so I couldn't have a baby. I have many struggles in my tummy, a lot of surgeries, a lot of complications. I cannot have a baby. I lost my baby. So it's genocide of Denmark. And they say it's not genocide. They make it excuse and say it's a cultural genocide. They make it pretty. No one must have to make pretty things like that.
So Denmark.
Well, yeah.
Let me finish.
Natives may be in favor.
Read this. Let me read this. So native Greenlanders, Amarak Peterson, I'm probably saying her first name wrong, forgive me, was 27 years old when she learned the gut-wrenching truth about why she couldn't have children and that Denmark was to blame. Suffering from severe uterine problems, a medical doctor discovered an IUD birth control device in her body that she didn't know she had. Danish doctors had implanted it in her when she was just 13 years old as part of population control program for thousands of native Greenlandic girls and women. While the government of Denmark officially apologized last year for decades of forced sterilization of indigenous women and girls, the horrific treatment has cast a long shadow on the island that has become the center of international ownership. This week, the Danes hosted European troops of military exercise on Greenland, asserting that they're protecting the island from outside powers, particularly the United States. The Danes don't see us as humans, Peterson has said to a local in a local restaurant or whatever. They think we're too expensive, too small a population, but they take our land, our children, our lives, and expect a thanks.
Okay, I was alluding to this before about Leif Erikson and Eric the Red. All right. Now, You know who Denmark, that's the Danes. You know, the Danes are the Vikings, right? Okay. Do you know why Friday the 13th is particularly a bad day for everybody? It's horribly unlucky. Is because for the Danes, Friday the 13th was particularly lucky. And when the Danes slash Vikings were after you, it was hell. Lindisfarne in the 9th century was raided by the Danes. The priests and the people who occupied the monastery were slaughtered. And for the next 400 years, well, 300 years, Europe, the Mediterranean, and a lot of other places, and Russia was subject to depredations and terroristic raids where slaves were captured, monasteries and mosques were burnt, people were slaughtered for sport and everything else by these same Danes. So that's not surprising that they have this in there. This is
Well,
the people that was in the Vikings with Ragnar Lothbrok and all of his sons. These are the Danes. They weren't nice people.
so it says this particular program ran from 1950s through the 1970s and was part of Denmark's broader effort to assimilate Greenlandic children, often without parental consent. It happened to her mother's brother. Other relatives were subject to medical experimentation. Denmark announced in December that they were going to compensate for victims of forced sterilization, but Peterson called the payments another insult. The women are being offered about $46,000 in reparations. Well, shit, at least they got something there. As opposed to us here. But as the United States renews interest in Greenland, with President Trump recently expressing a desire to buy the island, Danish officials have repeatedly emphasized that Greenland is not for sale. But many Greenlanders argue that the slogan masks a deeper truth. Denmark still governs Greenland, not Greenlanders themselves. So Greenland is for Greenlanders, but controlled by Denmark.
It's a colony, effectively. It's a protected area or protectorate. It's like the relationship between Great Britain and the American colonies before the United States split off in 1776. So yeah, a whole lot of that's there. It's not a nice situation. This, and then earlier on, these Vikings or these Danes who came to Iceland and Greenland, they slaughtered a whole lot of the indigenous people. And by the way, NATO,
I didn't think there were indigenous. I thought nobody was just there, but
they had
apparently there
the
were.
equivalent of Inuit,
Yeah.
Eskimos, except for there.
Okay, yeah. So okay, so it says here, Greenlanders interviewed by the Post said they are not ready to swap Denmark for the US ownership. So some people, I've seen some reports where some people saying, yeah, we like Trump, we want we want them to come take over. But then a lot of the consensus there, even though they have problems with Denmark and what Denmark did to the indigenous, they don't want the US to come in and own it.
It's like Puerto Rico. A lot of them want to be citizens, or not. They are citizens of the United States. You can vote. You can run for president if you're born in Puerto Rico. That's birthright citizenship if you're born in Puerto Rico. But some people don't want to become part of the United States. So it's been an all up and down for years and years.
So here's the thing. So they also say that they want independence after years of what some describe as generations of trauma, displacement, and economic exploitation. The imbalance was visible in Washington, where the Danish foreign minister dominated nearly their entire press conference following talks with U.S. officials on purchasing the land. Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen of Denmark insisted that 56,000 Greenlanders wouldn't be bought off by payments from the US or vote in a referendum to become American. There's no way, quote, there's no way that the US will pay for a Scandinavian welfare system in Greenland, he told Fox. So, and many Greenlanders, U.S. interest has been uncomfortable, but also clarifying not because they want annexation, annexation,
Annexation.
annexation, but because it exposes how little autonomy Greenland actually has. It was a colony. You could see it in his body language. He didn't want her to speak. If Denmark really believed Greenland belongs to Greenlanders, then they will let us decide our own future. So they're saying, listen, we don't like Denmark because they controlling us, but we don't want the America either. We want our own independence. But can Greenland be independent?
No, it can't, because it can't defend itself if it's not dependent upon such little military backup, naval backup as Denmark can give it. It certainly can't do it on its own, and it's too vital. That's for the same reason that the United States in 1962 was not going to allow the Soviet Union to take control of Cuba. It definitely will not allow Greenland to be subject to a power vacuum or nobody with a military and naval presence to protect it is going to be left with extremely vital Greenland. Also, since we have global warming, what's going on is a lot of the ice caps are melting off of Greenland. So there's a lot of arable land there that has not been subject to use in a very, very long time, quite a few 100,000 years. So there is that. There are minerals that are being exposed to ready exploitation, which are going to be acquired by somebody. And you've got a huge landmass that has a population that's not as big as some of the larger American cities.
So one citizen of Greenlander says that, Karen Jensen moved to the South Greenland seeking better opportunities for her children. Said basic living conditions are poor. She lives in a government-owned apartment block built decades ago, cramped, aging, plagued with black mold, while the rent alone consumes most of the household income. She says the buildings are not modernized. They were built for Inuit, Inuit.
Yeah, those are the same. Just think of Eskimos,
Okay.
Inuit. That's what I was talking about.
Inuits, and then forgotten. Although Denmark often points to subsidies as proof of generosity, Jensen said the system keeps Greenlanders strapped with high costs, low wages, and little chance to build wealth. I think America could come in and help them with that because we love capitalism.
They're capitalists.
Really, not giving them public housing for all of.
But then again, look at Great Britain and its experimentation with socialism too. See, one thing is the Euro Union depends heavily on the United States for its markets. NATO, they're talking about that. NATO is just a polite way of us saying, hey, you work for us. We have military bases all through your countries. Think about it. You are in a sovereign country and you got an American Air Force base, Army base, and you got components of a couple of divisions of U.S. troops stationed in your place where they can't be thrown out because they didn't have an option in the first place. Come on, that's like, hey.
Well, the imbalance, it says here, because speaking of industries, they're known for their fishing. A fisherman who has worked the waters for 40 years said Greenlanders do the labor while Denmark and large corporations capture the value. We fish the cod, then it's frozen whole, shipped out, processed elsewhere, and sold for much more. In some settlements, fishermen are paid as little as $1.86 per kilo for cod. In Nuuk, the same fish can fetch for $2.95, often processed and sold abroad. The price climbs far higher. It's our fish, gesturing to freshly caught Greenland redfish, dolphin, and seals. Why shouldn't the money stay here? That makes sense. Local fish markets that sell directly to consumers can charge up to $12.50 per kilo. Um, the Greenland could support its own processing industry if companies would build facilities on its shores, right? So, behind the anecdotes and statistics are lives marked by trauma, addiction, despair, conditions many Greenlanders link directly to colonial policies. One of the Greenlanders described seeing alcoholism, drug abuse, and violence daily in her neighborhood. So they are basically treating the indigenous people, their second and third class citizens, making them citizens, even though that's their land. But here's the solution I think that Trump can propose, because he's always about the art of the deal, and he wants a lot of companies here in America to stay here, manufacture here. What if he was to offer the people of Greenland, okay, if you are supporting for the US to come in and take over Greenland, in return, we will make sure that corporations create processing facilities there, so that you could, instead of shipping it out, it could be processed, packaged, and everything in Greenland. So that way the money can stay in Greenland and they could have more income coming in.
Why not just take the thing over, buy it? I think even if he invades, they're gonna pay for it. They don't give a tender for it.
But what I'm saying is, the people should have some type of benefit if the United States come and take over.
Same kind that Puerto Rico has. Same
What?
kind that Hawaii had. Same kind that Alaska had. Alaska and Hawaii before they became states, and Puerto Rico still preserves because some people don't want to be a U.S. state, but they're not going to become independent.
No,
So they'll either remain a protectorate or a territory of the United States, or they will become a state. So that's we also do other things, like we acquired control of the Philippines, but the Philippines are a separate entity now. We still have naval and military bases there, but we let them go. American Samoa is a protectorate of the United States. That's deep in the South Pacific. Very nice place to go and have a vacation. So I mean, it's not that we haven't run places before and let them go, but sometimes we don't let them go.
Okay.
And by the way, I was going to say this: NATO is nothing but a creature of the United States.
You want to elaborate a little bit while I get
In
this?
other words, like I was alluding to it, General Omar Bradley wound up being in charge of the American forces, a commanding general. He wound up getting 5 stars. And over him, and previously holding the position, was General Ike Eisenhower, future 2-term president of the United States. He commanded the NATO forces, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which included South Africa, Australia, New Zealanders who were there in Europe, Canada, uh, England, France, Free French, a number of other entities who were cooperating to deal with Adolf and Benito. So, like I said, the end of World War II, there were 18 million people under General Eisenhower and 12 million under Omar Bradley. So it's a creature. We armed, we set up, we organized, we supplied all of their equipment and infrastructure. So Trump has also said, by the way, guys, you aren't taking care of your fair share. So, you know, look at Germany. Germany is part of NATO, it's part of the Euro Union, but you know what the US is talking about? Says, look, you guys only have 280 tanks in your whole army, your Bundeswehr. How can you sit there and talk about you a first-rate troop of soldiers when you don't even have 300 tanks? We have 20 times that many. So what are you talking about here? 280 tanks, you know, like the Battle of East Wind in 1991 during the first Gulf War. The U.S. had twice that many tanks in one battle. And this is all Germany has total. What are you talking about? You don't even have enough fighter aircraft to staff an American nuclear aircraft carrier. How are you going to stand up and talk about stuff other than that you are a token in the forces that the United States provides for your defense so that you can become a credible? It might cost you a little bit, Russia, if you decide to take all these guys, because they might be a nice set of cannon fodder types while the U.S. Army ramps up.
Last thing, I brought this to your attention a couple of days ago. This went viral. The new Black Panther Party of the Fence out of Philadelphia, and they're supposed to be anti-ICE. So I want to play this clip, a couple of clips, because this guy here, Paul Bursong, he is the chairman of the new Black Panther Party.
Won't no ICE agent ever run up on me. I guarantee you they won't. I'll put a hole in their chest the size of a window. Safe line repair, safe line replace. That's what's gonna happen. They touch me. Unarmed woman was killed by ICE. If you think you're about to come and brutalize the people while we're standing here, fuck around and find out. Our interactions with the police and ICE, and we hold them accountable. We hold them accountable. We patrol the community and we hold them accountable. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, we're the same Panther Party from back in the day, but we're a little more aggressive now, you dig? Carry bigger guns and we don't take no shit. Places where there are a lot of immigrants at, I think that the community around them needs to take special care to them and needs to start escorting them to and from everywhere to make sure that they're safe. Because them ICE agents ain't gonna act like that if it's a bunch of people standing outside with assault rifles and shotguns. It's a semi-automatic shotgun. That means them shotgun shells that shoot out of a pump, they shoot them rapidly. If you are gonna legally arm yourself with something bigger than what they got. Those who serve in the public, they should be fearful of the public. They should be fearful that the public's going to be dissatisfied with their job that they're doing, not feeling like they're tyrants, not feeling like they're bullies because they got guns and body armor and walkie-talkies. That makes them immune to whatever the people would do. I think you want to correct the ideology of the pig and the mentality of the slave catcher. You meet them with equal force. All power to the motherfucking people.
He is giving somebody in law enforcement good cause to blow him away as soon as he twitches wrong.
Paul Bursong from the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense.
Huh?
See, the Black Panther Party that he's trying to emulate came about in reaction to and to pass on what developed with the Deacons for Defense and Justice of Louds County, Louisiana. There were some people in the Deacons for Defense and Justice who had literally been in the 761st Armored Battalion in World War II. They were known as General Patton's Black Panthers, and they were the second most decorated U.S. Army unit eventually outside of the Sensei, who were Japanese and fought in Italy. Now, They came up with the Black Panther logo, the exact same one that the Deacons for Defense and Justice adopted, the exact same one that the famous Panther Party adopted. And you see, when you shoot your mouth off like this, you set yourself up to get done in. You're supposed to act a little bit more quietly about what you say and not sell wolf tickets, because somebody's going to get blown away off of this if they can back it up. And what he's stating in terms of armaments aren't exactly what the reality is. So, he's already said anybody that attempts to approach him, he's going to put what? A big hole in their chest. What? With a shotgun? And see, the thing he doesn't get is a 3A vest, even the 2A one, which is typical police now. They use 3A. Will stop a 12 gauge blast with buckshot if you get hit with the thing. So they're already out armored and he's not. And that's not pretty. So you don't talk about these things.
So this is him explaining what the party is about.
Let me hear.
All power to the people. I'm Chairman Paul Birdsong from the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. I want to address a couple of things. Thing number one, I see a lot of people asking why the Black Panthers are going up against ICE for the immigrants. Well, I want to tell you something. The Black Panther Party is not a black nationalist organization. The new Black Panther Party might be. I'm not sure. The Revolutionary Black Panther Party might be. Any of these variations of Black Panther parties might be. But the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, the one that Huey Newton started with Bobby Seale, is an internationalist organization that stands as allies with oppressed people no matter what their ethnic background is, no matter what their cultural background is. So just like my predecessors stood up against the United States of America's imperialist regime with Vietnam to stop the Vietnam War. I don't know if you know your history, the Black Panther Party was strictly opposed to the Vietnam War. We had the Rainbow Coalition with all different ethnic groups coming together and fighting against the regime together. That's what we stand for, all power to the people. We're not racist. The very ideology of racism in and of itself is not intellectual, being that there's only one race on the planet, and that's the human race. We have different ethnic backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? We have different cultural backgrounds, different skin colors, different languages and ideologies, but we're all part of one human race. You know what I'm saying? So racism is in and of itself irrational, illogical, is unsensible. It just doesn't make any sense. No intelligent person would embrace the ideologies of racism. So we're not a nationalist group, we're an international group. And then another thing, I got people from my past, like this one elderly man. I'm not gonna say his name, but they like to troll me and, try to call me fake gangster, fake this, fake that from my past. And, I don't care. My goal is not to prove to anybody that I was ever a gang member or that I was ever a thug or what I was locked up for or wasn't locked up for. My goal is to protect my people from ICE, to protect my people from police brutality, to protect my people from crooked politicians, imperialism, to protect my people from imperialism, fascism, to protect my people from racism, to protect my people from capitalism. That's what my goal is, to protect my people from tyranny. I don't care about none of that stuff you're talking about, bro. I'm out here feeding people. I feed hundreds of people a week, if not thousands. The Black Panther Party feeds people in multiple states across the country. I don't care about what you're talking about. While you at home or wherever you are typing on your phone about what I'm doing, I'm outside with these guns and with these warriors I got with me actually fighting for the people, actually doing something that matters, which is what you should be doing. So That's how I feel about that. You know, and with that being said, all power to the people. No power to the pigs.
What? Why are you laughing?
Because it's funny to me. See, I knew some of the people he's talking about personally, some very well. So it's interesting. What are you saying? There's a 55-year, well, it's more than 55, 56 or 7 years between what he's talking about and and when it went down. He wasn't there. But anyhow, it's interesting. He's also said something that amused me too, because he's not going to be very appealing to some of the woke folk. Remember, he's saying it ain't about race. You know, some folk really want everything to be about race. You know, the victimization crowd.
So
So
I want
it's amusing to me. People will learn, but I mean, the point is when you go out trying to sell wolf tickets, somebody might buy a wolf ticket. They might buy a whole book of them to the premiere performance and want an encore and a curtain call. You know,
But
so
you look at this picture in here, and these supposed to be people in the party, and there is more white looking faces than there are black, and she's out of shape. Let me see what.
And on behalf of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense and every revolutionary nationwide that agrees with this cause, I want to first, I'm telling all my comrades, every Black Panther out there, we're going to stop calling the pigs pigs and we're going to refer to them by their actual name. We're going to call them slave catchers. So when you confront the slave catchers, call them slave catchers. When you address the slave catchers, call them slave catchers. From now on, the only way we refer to the pigs, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, is we call them slave catchers. And I would like to tell all my brothers and sisters nationwide, start referring to them as what they are. And I know it's a lot of people out there that say, oh, well, this cop is a good cop and this cop is a good cop. Once they put on that badge, once they take that oath, they're taking the oath to the slave catcher patrol.
Look at them, Judge.
And I take it, they
Yeah,
call it
I've
police
seen
officers
some
now,
of
but their name is Slave
Yeah.
Catcher Patrol. That's what they is, that's what they always have been. Every black officer out there, shame on you. And I'm gonna tell you why. You know how the black police officer came into fruition? Back in the day, what a slave owner would do would go to one of the slaves and say, hey, if you'll help me catch my property.
Okay, that was the end of that. So somebody responded, right, to this is them training here.
So
I'm not playing this. This is them training. They ready for combat. I think they're stuck in a time warp. Was it you was dressed in all black in the 60s on UCLA campus? Late 60s, early 70s?
No, that was
Honey, we got the picture.
that was something else. It wasn't all in black. You'll see. But anyway, it was a different kind of thing.
Was it?
It
Way different.
it's a different kind of thing.
You may not be coming home.
Received many emails from
You may not be coming home that night or for Christmas back in the day, going up against those pigs back then. See, they want to call.
It was, see, and the distinction is it wasn't all police were pigs. It was the ones that acted like it.
But the main purpose of Black Panthers is to protect your community.
Yeah, they used to do patrols in South Central LA, for example. Shermont Banks, who went to Cal State LA, he was the chairman. And he got a little bit turned off by what was happening.
But this
some
new
people
thing-
started getting out of the penitentiary.
Right.
Bunchy Carter, who had run the gang known as Slausons, got out from doing his time. He was illiterate when he went in, but like Malcolm, he memorized Webster's and he taught himself to read, write, and he wrote pretty good poetry. Matter of fact, I personally recruited him to go to UCLA under a special program we had. which
Well,
wasn't really affirmative action, along with Geronimo Pratt, aka G, John Huggins, and Elaine Brown. I recruited them all personally,
here's the thing.
Nathaniel Clark, and that wasn't what they were about.
No,
Quite.
they weren't about protecting illegals. And so
No, they weren't.
so as far as patrolling the community, this new Black Panther thing, whatever it, if I call them the fake Black Panthers, they're protecting illegals from ICE, and ICE they're doing their job. They're not acting like pigs. They're doing their job. So
And the other thing is they're using all of that obsolete communist phraseology, which doesn't do well for public relations in any shape, form, or fashion.
So
So
I want to play this clip here because this guy here, he is denouncing what that guy Paul Burson is doing. So he's calling himself the original Black Panther Party member, and he's clarifying the difference between what the guy Paul doing, the one that looked Puerto Rican, and him. His name is Mike Payne.
General Mike Payne, national leader of the original Black Panther Party here. We have received many emails from people asking what is our official stance on the ICE situation. I need you all to listen and understand what I'm telling you. We, the original Black Panther Party, in good conscience cannot risk life and limb of our people for groups of people who have not risked life and limb for us. Just because we have a common enemy, that does not equate to us having a common problem. If this was so, now listen to me. If we had a common problem and enemy, where were the immigrants or even the Black immigrants as a whole when Breonna Taylor, Tyree Nichols, Trayvon Martin, Rollin Hill, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, where were you at when our people are murdered in the streets, slaughtered in cold blood by an agency that now hunts you? But now that injustice has touched your door, we have something in common. The Black agenda must come first. We are still working on in-house unification. We cannot afford to divide our ranks to help individuals who have not been reciprocatory. Black citizens, we are not the target. Sure, like anything else, a few Black citizens get stopped, hassled, and ID'd. That's been happening to us for 400 plus years. The difference now is we aren't who they're looking for. We don't mean this in a harsh way to any community that migrated here and are targets of ICE. But legal or illegally, this has been our experience since our shackled feet touched the Virginia soil. Welcome to America.
actually, the first one was more closely akin to the original Panther Party mantra than the one you just heard from, but this is just part of
I
the.
didn't know the Black Panther Party was still up and running.
That's not the original.
I
That's
know
the
it's not.
recreated.
Because that was completely dismantled via COINTELPRO, and there are still some Black Panther Party members from the 70s that are still in prison today. So
Well, some of them weren't about Black Panther Party business who were still in. Some were. So
can you get off the computer, please?
I'm looking this up, what he's talking about. So
Oh, okay, honey, you doing research while we doing this show. I hear that.
yeah. So you do it all the time. I'm just
You know,
looking at.
I don't think you're really doing research.
Yes, I am.
Pin the phone so I can see what's on your computer screen.
No, I don't want this to be
Yeah,
saved.
okay. So listen, good show. Wonderful guest, guys. Please go and support Rosemary Oglesby, Henry, Ohio, District 1. If you do not live in District 1 and you cannot vote, donate to her campaign. So if you can't vote, donate, because that's the second most important, is to donate money. Sometimes it's the first, so they can have the funds to get out there and campaign and talk to the people and everything like that. But donate and vote. and support. So great guests. And of course, just this was a good conversation. And let me share this here because I have to keep talking about this a whole lot, and I have to come up, I am gonna have to come up with some marketing things, marketing schemes for now. I don't want to say schemes, but ways of marketing the Patreon, because I created this Patreon so that you can have a platform to talk about things that, that's exclusive, original content, number one. You don't have to be censored, number two. And I'm sorry, people need to start financially supporting the information and knowledge that you spit out, that you give. So, only posted 3 videos so far because I just started it this weekend, guys. And there are 2 reaction videos. It was good content. And the join Patreon welcome video. So everyone go to, and I named it the Real Dana Network, but the membership is called Judge Joe Brown After Dark. It's only $15 a month. That's not a lot at all. So please go to the Patreon. It's in the description, it's in the chat link, and I'm gonna put it in the comment section. Go and sign up to the Patreon because it's going to be a whole lot of great original content. Because we talked about it last week, and we was talking about the trial of Jesus Christ. Do not go in details, but that's going to be a recording that the judge is going to do.
Basically, give you a little preview. Roman law and American law, at least in terms of structure, are similar. We have a right to be represented by counsel. If you were a Roman citizen, you had a right to be represented by counsel. You had a right to a jury trial as a Roman citizen. You have a right to a jury trial as an American citizen. If you got convicted, you have a right to an appeal in America. You had a right to an appeal as a Roman. They had one thing we don't have, which is if all else failed, you had a right to appeal to the Roman mob, or in other words, to the Roman people.
Yeah, so
So
guys,
a little clue, see what we're talking about.
and there's going to be a whole bunch of other things. So, information is power, knowledge is power. So go and subscribe to the Patreon. And you know what I'm going to do is create a Rumble page as well. But first I'm focusing on the Patreon. I want to build that up. And so go and subscribe. Yeah, check it out. It's good stuff. It's going to be great. And that's it.
Wow, I kind of enjoyed it. I like that lady.
Rosemary, Miss Rosemary. Yeah, I'm gonna have her back on, but I want to do a pre-record. We're pre-record on Thursdays, and so that way it just won't feel rushed. So definitely, I want to have her monthly, and yeah. But anyway, listen, thank you again to our guest, Miss Rosemary Oglesby, Henry.
Ms. Oglesby, yes, very impressive.
Thank you to everyone that was listening. Oh, I had a couple of super chats here. Thank you to Eric, Sheba Dog in a combat position. And thank you to Sarah. So thank you guys. And subscribe, hit the bell button, share this video, and most of all, subscribe to the Patreon. Y'all got $15 a month. And you know what? And I need to start catering to younger audience because y'all older, 50 and plus older, y'all want to sit up here and act like y'all broke and be penny pinching. I don't have time for that. I don't.
Inflation, that's the problem. Another reason to make sure you don't have any Democrats back in office to engender greater inflation.
And it's MLK Day today. It's a holiday. So, take some time out and read his book other than reading the I Have a Dream speech. So, speaking of that, real quick. This is what I wanted to highlight with that as well. I did save something with that. Where is it? Yes. So a little backstory here.
I'm listening.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to move us over. Okay. So it says here, Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a world rooted in justice and peace. His life was cut short by gun violence, but his vision continues to guide the work we do every day at Giffords, standing up for justice, protecting lives, and building a safer future. This MLK Day, we honor him by continuing to fight for safer communities for all. Now, however, someone reposted and they commented, most people don't know Martin Luther King Jr. applied for a concealed carry permit in 1956 after his Montgomery home was firebombed. The local authorities denied him. He wanted to carry a gun because he and his family faced constant threats from the KKK and others. The sheriff deemed him unsuitable. So I wanted to highlight this here that to say this person here who posted this original post about JFK, wanted a world of justice and peace, but he also believed in the Second Amendment. And this particular group that posted this, left wing liberal, it's Gabby Gifford. We're on a mission to save lives from gun violence. But you want to use MLK, the very person who wanted to have a gun to protect him and his family. So,
By the way, I'm very much up on that. I've heard some tapes that are in evidence or were in evidence in that case I was the last judge on the James Earl Ray matter.
yeah,
And it was Bayard Rustin that talked him out of going armed. And Bayard Rustin wanted to argue that it was against what he was standing for to be armed. And basically, his vigilance got let down as a result of listening to Rustin. Now, Rustin was an interesting person. He had played basketball in college. He was very tall, very strong. And let's just put it this way, he was imprisoned during World War II for, he claimed, being a conscientious objector. And while in there, he was continuously written up and disciplined because he would beat up individuals to do what they sometimes do in the prison to get sexual satisfaction. And he was a very violent person. If we are to look at his record of incarceration and the people he allegedly hurt while he was in there. So he, with this history, talks King into not being armed because it was better for the overall atmosphere. But King did try to get a permit, and there was a big to do at one point in that about whether or not he was supposed to be deemed a dangerous individual because of that. But
yeah,
these clowns who want to go off and start talking about gun control, because there's not a darn thing gun control could have done to save Dr. King, because guess what? The weapon that was actually used to kill him was an XM-21. It was made up by the U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit. It came through the FBI. They got 5 of them in late December 1967. One of them was tendered over to 2 U.S. Marine snipers who seemed to have been recruited from the Marine Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, right across the tarmac from the FBI school there. And they were armed with the special ammunition and the weapon that was used to kill Dr. King from the fire station, not the flop house. And if you go and tour the Civil Rights Museum now, and they've got the flop house back open again, they mention my name and my findings on that under the rifle that was James Earl Ray's, that is not the murder weapon. So, yeah. That's interesting, because what are you going to do about the United States Marine Corps, the personnel in it, or the U.S. Army, or the FBI? And you're talking about controlling the weapons that civilians have. It's a bogus thing. It's just a preemption of common sense. and it's attempting to convert something, to bastardize something, so you support your own agenda by taking reality out of context.
And with that, everybody have a wonderful night.
And reflect, since, I guess it is a day to commemorate the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., just think about the circumstances and the fact that his murder has not yet had the light of justice shine on it.
Okay. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful week. We will see you next week. I will see you Wednesday, me, myself, and I. The judge will see you next week, but then you'll catch him on Injustice Fall on Thursday. Bye.
Bye.